All right, we are now live on YouTube and also on Facebook. How you doing, guys? Good to see you guys. Welcome to the live broadcast. I went live last night, didn't I? Yeah, it was last night.
Do calories really matter?
Do calories really matter? And what's the answer?
Yes.
Yes, it absolutely does. And that's why I tell people you could eat only Butterfinger, for 30 days and lose a tremendous amount of weight. The only problem is how many Butterfingers would you eat? One.
Just
Yeah,
one.
you eat just one. So I'm eating all Butterfingers and lost weight. And then you have every news organization asking you, oh, what's your protocol or whatever like that. And it's like, nothing. I just eat one Butterfinger a day. I could eat one Christmas cookie and then say, oh, I'm on a Christmas cookie diet. And could you lose weight? Yes, absolutely. So that's why the energy you put in does matter. However, guess what you would become, over the next 30 to 60 days, you become very what? Nutrient deficient. Yeah. And so that's why, really, especially now being very conscious as far as what I am putting in. And I don't measure my calories. However, you know what I do measure when I'm eating? What am I thinking to myself?
Protein.
How much protein is in here? How much fiber am I getting? And also, people say, well, what about, vitamin C? And I'm like, there is tons of vitamin C in broccoli.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily eat fruit in order for that. In order for you to get some of those things, people don't realize that there's a tremendous amount of vitamin C, just in vegetables like peppers and broccoli. Oh, well, peppers aren't fruit or aren't vegetables, they're fruits. I'm like, semantics. Come on. All right, guys. So if you do have a health question, go ahead and type it in the chat. If you are on Facebook or on YouTube, I'll be able to see that. And also, if you're on Instagram too, thank you very much for joining us and ask your questions here during the live broadcast. I know that we get some people who straggle in and they start asking questions afterwards. I'm like, it's very hard for me to answer everybody's questions that people have. Unless you send me a direct message, I promise you I'll try to get to it. Okay. I can't promise you I can give you a great answer. Sometimes people will, ask me questions that are very, very like specific. I'm just like, that's a consult question. So it just makes it hard, after the fact, because guess what I have?
A family.
I have a family. I have another life.
Yeah.
This is not my life. It's not the only thing that I do. So I do, in fact, have a family. And so I just can't spend all my time on social media, asking questions and things like that. So, yeah, any questions, go ahead and ask that question and type it in the chat. If you're on Facebook, type it in the chat. If you are on YouTube as well, I'll do my best to answer that question in real time. Unless someone they talk about specific labs, things like that. I'm like, that's a question that you need to get you need to get the appropriate lab testing for. So, how are you doing on no sugar?
Good. I'm doing awesome.
Doing good.
Yeah.
What's the date today? Is it
the 20th?
It's the 20th.
20
Okay.
days in.
So 20 days into the no sugar challenge, you're doing well?
I'm doing well. I'm gonna do 2 or 3 more months of it. So
you know what? I probably will, because at the end of the month we're doing another in-person no sugar challenge.
Yep.
We're doing an in-person no sugar challenge, and so
January 31st.
Yes, and I just think that it's important for the person who's holding it and the staff to kind of suffer with. I don't want to say suffer. It's not really suffering. It's boring.
It is boring.
It is boring. To be bored with everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I am a little bit bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
We don't make extravagant meals.
No. It's but I'll show you at that event how I'm like, come on, guys, make it easy. Don't make it hard. Okay. Yeah, sure. Make it easy. Don't make it hard. And I'll show you. Here's how you literally can make it super easy.
One way that I think it's easier for me too.
What's that?
My husband's doing it with me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Accountability is absolutely huge. And one of the reasons why I kind of got behind this was, probably about 15 years ago. And I was just a fat piece of crap. I really was. And who told me? Other people did. Mm-hmm. And it hurt. It really did hurt. It offended me. And then I got to thinking, hey, it's, no change ever happens unless you are first offended. Right. And I remember my wife lost a lot of weight too. Mm-hmm. Do you know how much weight she gained after our second child. She'll hate me for saying this, but I love her. I loved her through it, just like she loved me through me.
Yeah.
75 pounds.
Yeah.
She says I ate anything and everything. And
Mhm.
part of the reason is because, she had a lot of morning sickness. And so if you had a lot of morning sickness, what did she always gravitate towards? A lot of processed carbs, things
Sure.
like that. And so, yeah, she did gain a lot of weight. And then after that, she's like, I gained a lot of weight. And, yeah, but you know what? She took it all off.
Yeah.
And did absolutely fantastic. So we do have a question from YouTube. What is the most important nutrient to target? Well, I think that's a question that you can't really answer. I think it requires a little bit of nuance. But I appreciate the question because I want you to think of this. If I was on a desert island and I hadn't eaten for 30 days, the most important nutrient that I should probably get is what?
Any.
Food.
Yeah,
yes.
anything.
At that point, I'm not worried about, vitamin C. I'm worried about getting energy into my system. But when you talk about a nutrient, I don't know if you're talking about macronutrients, micronutrients, things like that. However, I will say this because I did put a reel out earlier today about some of the most nutrient dense foods. And when you're talking about, nutritional density, what you're talking about is a lot of micro minerals that you can't get from other foods that a lot of people miss. And that's why I think that organ meats are one of the most important things to do, specifically liver. Okay. And the reason why is if you think about what's in liver, liver is, there's iron in it. There's all your B vitamins, there's vitamin A, there is CoQ10, within it. There is selenium, which is very important for the thyroid gland. So there's all of those things in there. And in fact, I know how many people are actually eating liver.
Like maybe one.
Oh man, I would probably say 1 in 100, because after they start doing some things, I'm saying, hey, let's talk about how we can get it from food. Okay, so you can get fermented food. That's why I like sauerkraut. And I ask people, are you willing to eat it? They're like, nope.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, well then keep doing this.
Yep.
Are you getting 10 servings of veggies in order to increase your potassium? They're like, nope. And I'm like, okay, well, you need 4,000 milligrams of potassium, so you need to be getting it from this. I think the most important nutrient to target is the one that people are really struggling as far as the deficiency in, but also the one that's contributing to the most overt symptoms. You know what I mean? Because being nutrient deficient, it can lead to symptoms. There's no doubt about it. So that's probably the most important one. But it's going to be different for every single person. So,
what kind of symptoms can you have if you're nutrient deficient?
Deficient in what specifically? Yeah. It just depends on what you are deficient in.
Okay.
So, Alice from Crivets. Hello from Crivets. Oh, that's Dr. Patrick Flynn's hometown, isn't it? So, thank you, Alice, for watching, and make sure you ask your questions too. I appreciate you being on the live broadcast. I know we don't have a lot of time because
25 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, I know that we have already some people who have checked in, for their appointment, but the only time that I go live is if I don't have a consult scheduled during this time. So I'm like, let's make good use of my time and be able to connect with people that are out, within social media and things like that. So, yep. What was the question that you asked again?
What kind of symptoms can you have if you're nutrient deficient?
Yeah, it just depends on what you might be deficient in. There are conditions that can develop with B12 deficiency. There are things that you can start to see changes with B6 deficiency. There are things that you can see when you have iron deficiency. You see it quite a bit in a lot of women, especially who are menstruating. And that can be because of their menstrual cycle. That can also be, because they might be low in stomach acid, which is needed in order to absorb iron. So, there's so many different people who might be, having unknown or unresolved bleeding, whether it's in the gastrointestinal system or something like that. So there's a lot of reasons why people might be iron deficient, but I think it's probably one of the things that kind of catches people's attention, quick enough, only because they just don't have, they might have headaches, they might have muscle spasms, they might have fatigue. They might have, all kinds of issues. So that it just depends. And here's the thing: we don't test for nutrient deficiencies, but we see the effects of nutrient deficiencies. Other than you're looking at your iron, your ferritin levels, and things like that. So, Margie, if Margie says I have low ferritin, what's best for that? I think the best thing for having low ferritin um, would be to figure out why you are low in ferritin. That's the thing, is to figure out why you are low in ferritin. Um, the I've seen people very, very low in ferritin, and my wife struggles to keep her ferritin levels, which just ferritin is like stored iron, and you will see high ferritin, in people who are obese. You know that? So you see very high ferritin levels, can be an indication of fatty liver. But you see also a lot of women who are very, thin and frail, and they have very low ferritin levels. And at that point, you want to figure out, all right, why do you have low iron stores? And for my wife, she's had multiple autoimmune conditions, going on that everybody just, I mean, they just uh, she already had it when I even met her, 20 some years ago. But she also has autoantibodies to her stomach parietal cells, which means that there's been some destruction to some of the cells in her stomach that secrete stomach acid, which means you need that in order to absorb iron, which, this is why every time I eat, I'll hand her a stomach acid and say, hey, make sure you take this so that you're absorbing iron. So, um, but the chronically low iron, you really want to figure out why that is. And sometimes too, you can have certain, like mold toxicity can sequester some iron, which means that, you always are seeing low ferritin. In fact, that's why some people have some issues with low ferritin, and they may have some issues with mold toxicity that's going on. I see it quite a bit as well. But do I think that low iron causes anxiety? No, but I think that there could be some immune factors taking place that can be causing some issues with anxiety. And as also a consequence, can also cause low iron at the same time. So I recently been hearing that olive oil before bed is a health benefit and can help metabolism. Is that true? So is it true that olive oil before bed? Um, Guys, I will tell you this. Everybody says, what can I do in order to improve my metabolism? And the thing is that metabolism really is only conversion. That's it. It's when you talk about metabolism, really what you're talking about is the conversion of one thing into another. So, and metabolism primarily is happening, or conversions, because in your liver you convert your hormones, into different metabolites. Um, and so, but when people I think are talking about metabolism, they're talking about, um, their basal metabolic rate, or how much they're burning throughout their day. But do I think olive oil is going to, boost your metabolism? Do I really think it's going to, move the needle? No, I don't think that it's going to. And in fact, what's the biggest thing that can help to boost your metabolism? What's the number one thing? And by metabolism, I just mean, your basal metabolic rate, meaning how much energy you are burning at rest. What's the number one contributor to that?
Protein.
Muscle mass.
Muscle mass.
Okay, so muscle mass is the number one thing. That's why I tell people muscle mass is going to be one of the most important things, which is why, I think muscle mass is so understated as far as what people can do. So I think that's one of the biggest things that can cause so many issues. And one of the biggest things, I think people just people overeat and they just undercount. I mean, they don't realize how bad that it's actually gotten. So, and just remember this: numbers don't lie. Um, anytime that you want to, anytime that you really want to see how you're doing, then it's just like, then measure it, count it. And, whether it comes to how my office is performing, remember, you always think it's better than what it really is. And numbers don't lie. Numbers can just be like, oh, just a slap in the face. Holy cow. And a lot of times if you sit down and you actually are measuring, here's what I'm eating, here's what I'm doing throughout the day. And most of the time where you start running into a lot of problems is, between 6 and 9 o'clock p.m. And that's when you are really just derailing yourself. And that's why you really should be measuring some of those things too. All right. So, all right. So why else would I have high ferritin? I'm not overweight at all. So you can have high ferritin if you do in fact have a fatty liver. And the thing is like, it's like, well, I'm not overweight, and I'm like, I don't know if you are or if you are not, but just remember this: if you do have any kind of visible body fat, then you are going to have some fat that's going to be stored within the liver. However, you can have high ferritin when you are running high inflammation as well. So that's why you might have a high inflammatory load in the body, and that can cause some elevations of ferritin. And in fact, if you see people running if they're running an acute infection, you'll see very high ferritin, as well. So that's why if you are, then you probably should be getting some labs done in order to see what's going on with some of your inflammatory levels and things like that. Question from Instagram.
Should all fruits be eliminated with the sugar-free challenge?
All fruits? Mm-hmm. Nope. A lot of people get this, they kind of turn into a food Nazi. But just remember this: the whole idea of the no sugar challenge is to lower your need for sweet. Do you avoid a lot of fruits? Yes. And people just are all up in arms about that. Just remember this: no one got fat. No one got fat from eating too many apples. Yeah. However, the fruits that you really should be focused on are going to be things that are paired with high fiber, which are known as berries: blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, things like that. Because is there sugar in those? Yes, but they're also paired with fiber, and so they take longer to digest. And if if that happens, then you're gonna be doing fine. That's why I think a lot of people need a lot more fiber, and that's why during the no sugar challenge, one of the things that you should do is you should be eating a lot of fiber. And I went over that last night on our live broadcast, why you do need so much fiber as well. So Tina Cottle, I've seen you before on here. Thank you for joining us. Pre-diabetic, type 2. If I eat any fruit after vegetable protein, I spike. Not eating any carbs other than vegetables, I spike as well. I walk and I don't need to lose weight. Any suggestions? Yes, throw away your continuous glucose monitor. So, because you know what else can cause your blood sugar to spike? Stress. And I think, with that, if you are pre-diabetic, then one of the things that I would be very interested in looking at is looking at gastrointestinal health. Okay. Gastrointestinal health, and the reason why is because, if you are very low in short chain fatty acid production, which, just think of this: it's fiber. Fiber provides the food for the bacteria that live in your colon. They produce something known as short chain fatty acids, like butyrate, for example, and that does play a huge role in your blood sugars and things like that. So I would actually say, if you are pre-diabetic, one of the first things is you can have lots of veggies, lots of fiber, lots of fermented food. Start doing some weight training. I probably would start getting into CrossFit. I would do that as well. How do you know, by the way, that someone is a CrossFitter?
You talk about it a lot.
Yeah, they'll tell you within 20 minutes of meeting them. I know someone's a vegan. Same thing. All right, Jackie. Hi, Jackie. My niece's doctor wants to do a hysterectomy on her. My niece doesn't want to remove any body parts. What are the biggest negatives to have that procedure? All right. So you want the long answer? Or you want the short answer? I'll give the short and sassy answer.
Yeah, short and sassy.
All right. So just remember this. Let's say, for example, you have a baby that's crying, and the baby is crying. You cannot get the baby to shut up, no matter what you do. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, I know what the problem is. We can get this baby to stop crying if we cut out its tongue. Cut out its tongue and it can't cry anymore. However, what's the problem with that? There is a reason why the baby is crying. So can people have, symptom relief by removing an organ? Absolutely. You can, but it doesn't get to the reason why that organ is struggling. Remember this: they want to remove the uterus, if they want to remove the ovaries, those are just receptors, and those are just responding. So the ovaries are secreting hormones. They need a stimulation from the brain. And then the uterus is responding to the hormone response coming from the ovaries. So just by removing the uterus, for example, all you're doing is cutting out the tongue that's giving the most symptoms. And so, same thing, you cut out the baby's tongue. Okay, well, it's not crying anymore, but did you get to the reason why the baby was crying? And this is why, I mean, it's just crazy. But she does need Jackie to work with a Wellness Way doctor, more than anything else. It's very, 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 very important. So that's that's one of the reasons why. But you need to figure out what's happening, what the symptoms are, what the hormones look like. You need to measure hormones not only in the blood but also within the urine, because they can. Blood hormone is looking at production. Urine hormones is looking at how it's getting metabolized. Are any of these unsafe during gestation? N-acetylcysteine, quercetin, chlorella, spirulina, and glutathione. Okay. It's tough to say. If you do like a Google search of any kind of supplement during pregnancy, or during gestation. Boy, I tell you what, they'll scare the bejesus out of you to do anything. All right. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I can do is say, when we have, women who become pregnant, this is what I'll tell women is the most important thing at this time is who? The baby. It's not you anymore. It's the baby. So you want to do things that that are going to help facilitate a great, healthy pregnancy. So that's why, at that time, if they're on some things, I'll remove, pretty much anything that, can cause accelerated detox. I will remove, anything that can cause uterine contractions. And, for example, even like Oregon grape has been shown to cause uterine contractions. And but at that point, anything that's helping to, facilitate any kind of detoxification, which if you look at NAC and quercetin and, chlorella, things like that, because chlorella I know can be used for heavy metal detoxes. You don't want to be upsetting those and exposing the, have it cross the placenta and can cause some kind of issues and things like that. So I would think that's just not the right time to do specifically those things. And that's why for a woman, what I'm usually recommending for a woman who's pregnant.
I was going to say the only thing I took was liver.
Mm-hmm. Omega-3s. Yeah. Yep. Keep it pretty easy and pretty simple, because one of the things you want to do is you want to feed your body for a healthy pregnancy. So that's one of the things that you want to do. So, all right. So let me see if I can bring this off. So can you move the light a little bit, because it's kind of a reflection on that. There we go. Yep. All right. Kathy says, I have cancer of the stomach lining. Will doing a hysterectomy, removing the spleen because there's a tumor behind it, will it help at all? I don't understand how a hysterectomy is going to help the stomach, or removing the spleen is going to help the stomach. I don't understand, your condition, what's going on. But when people are asking me cancer questions and things like that, you know what I usually say? Well, what's your doctor recommending? And it's like, well, they're recommending this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, well, what are they recommending in order to start reversing the physiology that brought it on? And so one of the biggest things too is if you have cancer of the stomach lining, well, what are they doing in order to support the stomach? Have you had an H. pylori infection? Have you had reflux? Have you had ulcers caused by H. pylori infection, which is really just a result of being chronically low in stomach acid? And if they want to remove the spleen, like, well, why do they want to do that? And what are they doing in order to support the body so that you are reversing the physiology that brought it on in the same way? Okay. So, that's a tough question to ask. Okay. Kathy says, thank you. That's what I was thinking. Prefer your sassy. Kathy, if anyone would enjoy it, Kathy would. Okay.
Jackie.
Or Jackie. Sorry. I'm looking at Jackie and Kathy at the same time. So, yep. Who is on the Palm? I don't know what that is.
Which is from Iceland.
Best wishes from Iceland. Wow, from Iceland. That's really awesome. I'd like to visit Iceland someday.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
We have a patient who visits there regularly. She tells me
Yeah.
about it all the time.
I heard it's just an absolutely fascinating island, you know, and so I'd like to go and visit. Lots of geysers and lots of it's a highly volcanic island. As far as I know, I'm not well versed in Iceland, but I do know that there has been a lot of awesome CrossFitters who come from Iceland. Right, so that's pretty awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions from Instagram? All right, so upcoming event that we have coming up.
No Sugar Challenge, January
Yes.
31st.
Yes, so January 31st, in-person event. So if you are from the Chicagoland area, and by Chicagoland, I mean that kind of loosely. Yeah. Because the reality is you could be from 2 hours away and you could still be able to do some of the things that we are asking you to do. So I would say if you're in a 2 to 3 hour radius, you could absolutely make it, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But at that time, I'll talk about the biggest roadblocks to weight loss. I'll also talk about why the scale is very stupid, very stupid. We'll talk about some of the biggest roadblocks that people have to weight loss, and why doing no sugar challenge, why it is so important, and why it does help. But one of the things too that's very important is also how you exercise as well. So how you exercise makes a huge difference. That's why you should be doing exercise that is constantly varied, done at a high intensity, and is also very functional. Yeah. Because doing that is one of the best ways that you can do in order to put on muscle mass is by doing functional exercise. You really want to build the muscles that you need that help you do things that you need in everyday life. Things like pressing, getting off the toilet, which is essentially what, people are like, I don't squat. I'm like, well, you get off the toilet, don't you? That's a squat. All right. They're like, well, I don't deadlift. And I'm like, did you drop something today? Yes. Did you pick it up? Deadlift. So all of those things are so important. Yep. But two, we'll also, have you finished that yet? The 5 minutes of fire?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So we have that too. And so we'll give you kind of a template as far as how I want you to be working out, over the course of the 28 days through February. And some very short workouts.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Yes. 5 minutes.
Everybody has 5 minutes. Right?
It's like, I don't have time. I'm like, you have time. If you're watching this video right now, then you do have time. 5 minutes, literally. And do you know that you can, they have seen positive changes with people's average blood sugars in as little as 2 to 3 minutes of exercise 3 times a week. High intensity. We're not talking about, like, oh, get on the adductor machine and just do this with your legs. And no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about high intensity exercise, the kind that makes you want to suck your thumb and ask for your mom, right? It's the kind that 2 to 3 minutes into it, people are grabbing some water because they start getting uncomfortable and they're like, I'm so tired. And I'm like, you don't need water.
Just finish the minute.
You don't need your towel. You don't need your water. You're not going to, die of thirst. It's not going to happen. But I noticed people did that. Yeah. Back in the day when my wife and I, when we had CrossFit gyms, and we would do the first workout, people would get uncomfortable. And I was like, I told people, I was like, you don't need water, because I saw people, they would get their water because they'd get a little bit uncomfortable. And, they'd get their towel and have to towel themselves off. And I'm like, you don't need to do that right now. Keep going. Mm-hmm. So one of the best things with the No Sugar Challenge, and also same thing with exercise, is this. Mindset. It's how it starts to change your brain. If you are, if you're constantly dousing yourself with sugar and things like that, then there's an element of people becoming soft when that happens, because if that's what you gravitate to when you're stressed out. Yeah. It's like, well, there's an element to there's an element that you need to change as far as your lifestyle. And how do you change your lifestyle? Through having a big why, and then also having the habits in order to change some of that mental behavior. So mandate burpees. So someone is on board,
yes,
with that. So yes, mandate burpees. That is a
That was a good challenge too.
That was a great challenge that we did
We had a lot of people do that.
several years ago. I know the Wellness Way did that.
Yeah.
We had thousands of people do the Mandate Burpee Challenge. However, you can still get a T-shirt if you go on Linktree, and you can get a Mandate Burpee T-shirt. Do you know why I called it Mandate Burpees?
I remember why.
Because
in 2020.
Well, yes, it had to do with what was happening during COVID, in 2020. And I said, if they're going to mandate people wearing a mask, then we should in the same way we should have every legal capacity to mandate exercise.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing, because you know what I think, and this is not to disrespect the teachers or anything like that, but you know what I think the stupidest classes in most grade schools is, the stupidest classes?
What?
PE. It's PE.
We should be doing like CrossFit workouts during PE.
You should develop a child's physical capacity and teach them how to be uncomfortable. But you know what? That's why we have so many soft kids. It's the number one
they
reason
need to bring
why.
back the rope climbs.
Yes, bring back the rope climbs. I'm in 100% agreement. I haven't done a rope climb in a good year, but I still would be able to do it. Yep, as well. But man, I tell you what, if you could teach kids how to properly climb a rope, how to properly wrap your legs, how to do like the J wrap, or how to do the how to clamp down on the feet to be able to climb a rope. Because guess what? To climb a rope doesn't require a lot of upper body strength. Do you know that?
Yeah.
It's primarily it's a hold on, do a knee to elbow, clamp your feet, and then stand up on it. That's literally what a rope climb,
it took me a little while to figure that out.
You do it. It takes a little bit of coordination as well, but we should be teaching kids how to do that properly, rather than teaching them how to square dance and bowl with plastic pins. I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
It should be a lot better than that. So Bobby asked the question, how would you treat a pregnancy at age 42 compared to, I don't know, age 35? Okay, so it just got cut off a little bit. My wife was pregnant I'm trying to think how old she was when she got pregnant with Elias. I think she was 42 approximately. Mm-hmm. And do you know how we treated that pregnancy than when she was carrying the pregnancy of Talon at 27, 26 years of age?
Same.
The exact same. Doctors treat it different because, at 42, they consider it quote unquote high risk. But one of the things that I remember is my wife was never high risk. And mainly she was not high risk because of how she took care of herself. And it was vastly different. She takes care of herself a lot better than she did in her 20s. Yeah. But doctors want to be like, oh my gosh, they were telling her the baby's going to have Down syndrome. The baby's going to have this, the baby's going to have that. And they treated it very high risk. It was just mind blowing, how much unnecessary stress that it caused. I said, honey, things are going to be awesome. Things are going to be okay. And in fact, this pregnancy was probably better than even some of the previous ones. Mm-hmm. So how do you treat a pregnancy at 42 compared to 35? Depends on how the person's taking care of themselves. Yep. That's the most important thing, because, the reason why there can be more problems with genetics at the older a woman becomes has a lot to do with doing the behaviors that damage the egg. So that's why I always tell women when they want to come in, they're having fertility issues and they want to conceive. I'm like, you really need to spend a good year just allowing the eggs to be able to heal. Because if you're doing a lot of bad, sassy behavior, then yes, that can damage the eggs. And that can cause some issues with mutations and things like that. It's the same thing when people are like, oh, well, what about MTHFR? And I'm like, get more folate. If you get a lot more folate during pregnancy, then all those things influence the health of the egg. And that's why it's the same thing with the man, because the man having unhealthy children, the man can be just as culpable, with it. And that's why I remember looking at research, and it said, if a man conceives with blood sugar issues, then the baby is much more likely to eventually have blood sugar issues as well. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's just like, it should be a joint effort between female and male in order to conceive. Both of you should have ultimate health, be working on it, at that point in order for you to have the best genetic expression. Because remember, your genes change based on the health of where you're at during conception. So, my wife and I, we conceived, I think I was 45, she was 42 or, something like that, which is just, to most people, it's just an ungodly old age. But we were both sitting pretty when it came to health status and things like that. And, and that's why we have just a booming, young, beautiful baby boy, who's almost 3 and loves basketball, and that's all that he plays, and plays the drums. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. But yes, the doctor did try to treat it like it was some kind of like terrible condition. We just didn't listen to them, and everything worked out just fine. So yeah, all those stuff is important. So Bobby, thank you for the question. I appreciate that. SK1996, thank you for mandate burpees. I appreciate that. Doe John8674, thank you. I always see you on YouTube. I always appreciate your watching. Thank you very much. Atlas Wave World, Nortec Norton, thank you very much for thank you so much for watching. Kathy, Jackie, thank you so much for watching. Lotta, Tina, Brenda, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you follow our page. Make sure you share this video with other people. I appreciate you guys watching the live video, but we do have people waiting right now, right?
Yeah, we do. Everybody.
Oh, we do. Oh, we do. So, yep. So we need a scoot. Let's rock and roll, right?
You got it.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Join us next Monday for our live broadcast. I'm thinking about talking about why a lot of the supplements I take, why they're soaked in alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I think that would be very important. Why that is one of the most important things, as far as like, the debate between pill form and alcohol extracted form, otherwise known as tincture form. And I'll show you the advantage of having it extracted from alcohol from multiple different perspectives, which a lot of people just don't quite understand that. So I'll help you kind of understand that from a little bit different perspective. I don't know if I will do it, but chances are, I think it would be a good topic, as well, especially the ones that are like, I can get the same thing from Amazon.
No,
I'm like,
don't do that. Yeah.
Don't ever order from Amazon. You'll order bentonite clay, and like it comes as like, seriously, like some kind of toe jam. I mean, it's like belly button lint comes in the mail instead, so it is certainly possible.
Something in the garage and sell it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can. So that's why it can be very, very, very dangerous. So thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow our page. We'll be putting out a lot of stuff. Make sure you get registered for the, if you're from the Chicagoland area, for the next weight loss event that we have coming up a week from Saturday. And so I hope to see you guys there. And like I always say, be well, be blessed. Remember who you are. Someone wants me to make a t-shirt out of it. I'm thinking about it.
Oh, you should.
Thinking about it. We'll see. All right. So guys, we'll see you guys very soon.